So we're back, Jens.
We are back. Hello.
Yeah. Hello again. I'm not sure anybody missed us, if I'm honest, but you never know.
I
If you
have
did
no
miss
idea
us,
either.
if you did miss us, let us know you missed us because we love the love, right? You know, we love the gratitude, we love the kindness, and we love the love. So we're back and we're pushing on with our online course building marathon. And we're in what we're in the last 100-meter dash now, right? This is
I hope so.
Kind of where yeah.
At least from a conceptual perspective, not from doing it, but from the conceptual part.
Superb. Well, I'm excited for everybody to see where we're going with this because it's been. I think I said this last time. You know, the part of this process just draws out stuff that you know, but for whatever reason you don't use because you think you know it.
Yeah, it's not active.
Using it. It's not active. Yeah, thank you. You said that far more eloquently than I did. But yeah, so as far as that and some of that stuff that we've been doing, I've actually been using in other areas because it's evoked, you know, some other actions. I think that's really good. I should be doing something else with that. So thank you for that. So yeah, every time. So yeah, excited to crack on today and see where we go.
Yes. So I will get back into the mural board. Let me share my screen. Should be seeing it now.
I do.
So little recap to get your brain back into the mood. Can you see it?
I can.
So first one we looked into basically the ecosystem with the different relations of the different players. Then we looked into the challenges of the ecosystem. We built opportunities, and then we have drawn the opportunities into funnel where we said, let's focus on the user education as the first part. And then we took that focus on the users, where we looked then into what is your dream customers and what are their needs, dreams, and desires, and so on. And then from that, we looked into mapping out the different values or the value you want to provide to them. And then we went from the values into what are different offer opportunities, offer perspectives, and different steps inside the offer. And then we basically built that into, we only did it like very, very high level on what are the different business perspectives and the company perspective. We need to go back to that afterwards, because for now, that's where we ended last time, is we need to understand from a validation perspective, is the offer resonating? Is the content of the program resonating with the people? What is the right platform? What is the right pricing? And pricing as the latest point, but more starting with the offer, if it's at all a value to someone who would use it. So before we spend more time on building something, we need to now look into how can you prototype that in a way that it's basically you get more secure on, hey, this offer is resonating. That's something where people would sign up and there would be people paying money for it. So that's a bit what it is today. So it's really bringing that into the focus on understanding how to do that. And again, I mean, we do this high level because it's still a lot of work to be done between the sessions going forward, or really doing the prototyping. We will not be able to do this right now. So what we said is diving into the offer. And offer is maybe just going back into what we looked last time. So what we looked is having different steps, having different bite-sized and modules from that perspective. And you basically went into all the different modules and how that could look like. One of them was like, understand what type of pop-up you need, what kind of pop-up fits for you, what environment is best for you. And going really into all that details. So what we need to do going forward is basically building this as a value proposition, which you can share with someone, and they say, yeah, is something, or is. So when I talk about offer, is this perspective, which we need to frame going forward. So I'm just moving here, from a focus perspective. So if we want to get someone being interested in this, what are the key phrases and what are the key topics you would need to mention to them that they understand what you talk about?
Well, I mean, the key phrases, I guess, and topics are, I mean, the first topic is, you know, do you want to open a pop-up? Do you want to open a pop-up shop? Or do you have an existing pop-up shop? Are you failing? Are you failing with your pop-up shop? Are you a startup, a retailer, or are you a startup business looking for a retail solution? I think they're the kind of they're the key phrases. I mean, the words around that would be, you know, retail growth and you know, building a business, retail entrepreneurship, I guess would be, you know, the buzzwords. Are you looking to generate more leads? Because, as I said, you know, pop-ups just aren't a retail, pure for retail. So, you know, are you just looking to grow your service business? Are you looking to find more users? Are you looking to get more people to, you know, buy your product or service, non-retail environment?
So it's if I understand you right, it's kind of a situational perspective towards the retailer. It's like, where are you? Do you have a pop-up store? Do you not have a pop-up store? If you have one, how is it going? What's going on?
Yeah.
So that you get a situational understanding of where they are.
Yeah.
That's one perspective. How do you get them to understand what are you offering from a words perspective? If you simplify what you want to create for them.
I mean, what I'm offering, I think, is as I guess with most people that specialize in a particular area, is how to get from A to B or A to Z in the quickest possible way. So, you know, I've been through the pain of opening up hundreds and hundreds of pop-ups and seen all the mistakes that people have made. So, you know, it's a I see anything like this as being a what's the phrase I'm looking for? You know, the path of least resistance. You know, here's the well. So busting the myth is something I say a lot about pop-up retailing, right? So first off, you know, let's bust the myth about pop-up retailing. Let's show you how to do it efficiently, profitably, and have some fun doing it as well.
So it's one piece is like showing your credibility that you have done this, you know what you're talking about, like your expertise. Then the other part is giving them the opportunity to understand that you are there to solve their pain points, that you are there to help them. And yet, if I understand right from last time as well, you want to take them by the hand, like on how to do that and how to.
So either give them the tools and give them the knowledge that they feel confident and empowered to go away and because they, you know, maybe they have, you know, they want that experience themselves, and they want to do that. So to give them the tools and empower them to be able to do that, or to say, okay, right, you know, give me a hand, come on, I'll take you on the journey, I'll show you the way. And then when we get there, you know,
if we take that and you put that into an online course, how do you describe it to them, what they will get out of the online course?
so they would get tangible actions and tangible actions that they would need to follow, and a path that they would need, a logical path that they would need to follow in order from concept to execution.
Like a roadmap.
So a roadmap, yeah.
Okay.
So almost like so I have a book, as you know, called Pop Up for Beginners, right? And I was thinking about calling it, Pop Up for Dummies, but of course that's already been done. But so I mean, it's the roadmap. It's like, here's, there are 5,000 steps in this process. There aren't, but I'm just using the number. Step 1 is this, and step 508 is this, and step 2009 is this. So there is a list, because there are things that people just don't think about, and I say this about retail all the time. Retail isn't just about opening the doors and turning on the lights. There are so many other aspects to consider, and so that it's a proven process that we can give case studies to, that show that when somebody executed on this is what happened, and all of the kind of reference points that would lead you back to this is why it works.
Yeah. So we leave it like this. We will go back to that. So
okay,
going further down. So we have 3 different perspectives. One is like, we need to build up a GPS that helps you to navigate, to understand if it's resonating or is it's not. And we're still on a super high level conceptual. It's like in the best case, let's say I would be a retailer, you would talk to me and you tick the boxes and they would be using it.
Yeah.
So that's what I call with the GPS perspective. Then the setup is basically how do you do that, like all the different assumptions you have behind that, bring that into a structure that you can do prototypes, that you can say, okay, we have had now an interaction, and talking is nice, but if I'm not buying it, I'm not 100% sure if you really like it. So what we need to do is basically finding out setups and then doing smaller prototypes going forward to understand they're really interested, not just saying they're interested because they're polite, they would be buying. Right. So which then gives you an opportunity to decide, that's resonating, that's not resonating, before you spend even time in doing it. Because then you understand that the market is there, that the market is interested in it, and then you can build it for the market because they will be using it. That's the idea behind that.
Sure.
So the base is still, let's say, a basic online course where you help them to get up to speed building a pop-up store, where you educate them around that topics.
Yeah.
So from a GPS perspective, what is success for you having the online course?
Well, success for them having the online course would be that
for you.
Oh, for me, well, success for me is that the people that go through that course have the enthusiasm and the desire to actually take it a step further. So they understand what they need to do. They understand how they should execute, but maybe I think they want that added expertise in order to either make it a bigger success, or speed up the journey of growth, or just just need the support and additional guidance because they understand, but they're not they're not expert at implementation.
Yeah. So you're already saying two things for me. One thing is that you want them to go out and they apply the knowledge they have gained. That's one perspective. The other perspective is that their business is growing, which means for you to be able to know this, you need to somehow build a KPI feedback loop.
Yeah.
It's just simplified word for it. But it's basically, you need to understand if they apply the knowledge they gained, is it supporting their business, yes or no? In the best case, you would get, let's say, numbers back from them over time that you see it's resonating or it's working for them. That's like the best case.
Yeah.
If we go simpler, so you have an online course, what does success mean for you?
That it's people are downloading it, people are buying it on a regular basis. That it's resonating with not just startups, but e-commerce brands, with existing retailers. Maybe it becomes part of a bigger program within a larger retailer, or maybe within an educational format. That there's a couple of universities that are doing things around pop-ups and looking at data more than anything. But maybe it becomes required learning, or it's a course that they want them to take in order so that they understand the mechanics of pop-up retailing. So sign up rate, individuals, companies, is and then the other thing from a very personal perspective is that it has added real value. I'm really, there are a number of people that you see, sign up for this, da da da, and I'll show you these things, and then all these people are trying to do is sell you additional products, and you never actually get to to answer the question, or they never answer the question that they asked you if you wanted answering. There are a few very, very good people at that have made an awful lot of money. I don't want it to be like that. What I want this to be is you've got questions about pop-up retailing. You want to know how to do it. This actually does tell you how to do it. This isn't trying to sell additional services. They are available, but they're not pushed upon you. That you will go away from here equipped with the things you need to know to open your first pop-up shop.
Yeah.
Right. Now, whether you want to open that on your own, or whether you want somebody to hold your hand and do that, that's a different question entirely. But I want this to have and give an enormous amount of value.
And that you will know if you get positive feedback. I'm just
exactly helping
you a little bit.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's maybe as well connected to this. So KPI feedback loop is basically it brings them real added value if they have better business afterwards. And and that's through applying the knowledge, not just random. So that's cool. So positive feedback is a perspective where if people engage with you, that it's working because you have interactions with them. So that's as well from a feature perspective, which we need to loop back when we look into how do we produce it, that you need to bring a feedback opportunity in it, that you have an engagement opportunity, though that it is an online course, you can still build next to it opportunities to engage with you and ask deeper questions, which maybe not, or specific questions where the retailer right now is. So if we just keep it in the digital world, so sign up rate is number one. Then what you always need to understand is, let's say it's a web page. it's a digital interface, so you know how many people come and how many people sign up.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving that in now. It's the same like in a retail store. You have so many visitors. Out of that many visitors, you need to have so many customers, paying customers.
Absolutely.
So conversion is a perspective which helps you to understand. If we just thinking prototype, so imagine you have just a blank website which is saying, hey, sign up for this webinar like you do right now, or sign up for this online course. You know that when people are clicking that sign up button, you know that there would be a conversion, or you can assume that. So these are ways we can build up to test, to say, okay, there are people interesting, and the message I give you is resonating to them. And then we can use different messages, different contexts to test that from a digital perspective. In the old way, in the old physical world, where we have been last year or before last year, we did that for example, with customers straight away. It's like you go into the shopping street and ask them if they would be interested in buying something. And then to the level of, hey, when they're really paying you, then they bought something, not just saying it.
Yes.
So that's a level deeper when it comes to this thing. So that's a bit what we can build up from a prototype going forward. So so one is conversion, one is sign up rate is basically the same from that perspective. And we keep it super simple. So you have visitors on the website or online course page or whatever, and then you build a conversion of that. That gives you an understanding that people are interested in taking that course. And then, because the others you can't measure yet. So positive feedback you can only measure when they have done it, or when they're
once you've done it. Correct.
The pop-up knowledge, applying the pop-up knowledge, you can only measure when they have done it, and the KPI and the real added value in the same way. So what we need, that's why I'm moving that a little bit to the side. What we need to understand is, okay, how many people would be interested in doing an online course you create?
You're asking me for a number?
No.
Oh,
that's a question we need to answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How many people would? Yeah. Okay.
So how many people would be taking an online course on pop-up retail? The English is most probably not perfect, but that's how it is working with the German. So how many people would basically do an online course? How many people would be interested? That's basically, if you think about what are the assumptions you have already, is that you assume that people are interested in doing an online course. On pop-up retail. Worst case, if that's not the case, if that is not true, your whole thing would break.
Absolutely.
So imagine you would build an online course now and nobody would sign up. You have spent a lot of time and a lot of money to build an online course and you have no idea. And you're just saying, you don't know why it's not working, because it can be so many things. And it can be just this point. So from a hierarchy perspective, that's basically even higher than this.
Of course.
So if you understand how many people would be interested in doing an online course for pop-up retail, then you can assume out of that proportions, like you do market analysis in retail. We say out of that market, I might get 10%, 5%, 3%, whatever.
I mean, my feeling about this is just because, obviously, I look at what's going on in the retail market right now. I look at what's going on with e-commerce brands, the inquiries I get, the questions I get asked by either startup retailers or existing retailers or e-commerce brands about literally asking me questions about how do we do this, right? People that that want to want a copy of the book, Pop Up for Beginners. So I 110% believe that there is a market for this based on my last 35 years of being in this industry, but also more recently the amount of questions I'm getting asked, the amount of people that come into Clubhouse rooms to hear about pop-up retailing, the amount of Instagram connections I'm getting. I'm doing a webinar series, as you know, right now, based around my IP of the 7 secrets to success for pop-up retailing, and there are people obviously coming to that in their droves. People attending our pop-up summit on the 10th of April. So I do believe that there is a real thirst for that knowledge. Well,
that's cool. So I'm shortcutting that now a little bit. So I just added another question. So let's say if this is true, that people want to take an online course on pop-up retail, and that's more than 2 people, more than 5, more than 10. Then of course the next question is, what is the content they would love to learn? What is the knowledge they want to gain as the next step? So yes, they're ready to take an online course. What do they want to learn? Which means, what do they want to get out of that? Which is, if we zoom out again, resonating to if you remember that, the needs, dreams, and desires you have been writing down. So from a testing perspective, what we need to do is now setting up basically a test regime, and it starts with super basic. We just take this 2, because it's all based on iterations. So how many people would take an online course on pop-up retail? How can you test that?
Well, I guess, I mean, there's a number of ways that we could do some. We could actually ask the question on LinkedIn. There are a number of groups that I'm attached to, networks I'm attached to, where we could, I'm building an online course. Is this something you would be interested in? Yes or no? I guess it's a fairly simple question in that respect. Certainly talking to, and I think from both aspects, from the retail aspect and actually the host site aspect as well. So there is that. I think could certainly on the webinars I'm doing and when I'm speaking or whatever, then it's maybe it's a question I should be asking somebody about how I'm developing my business. So I think just doing some research and asking the question in whichever way that might be, through social media, through going back to existing clients and saying, listen, you've been through the process. I'm thinking about building. What do you think? If you think, would that have worked for you? I guess. And then one of the things we haven't done, I guess, is look at if there's anything online right now that is in this wheelhouse. So maybe some validation in terms of what other retail courses are people taking online. So maybe that's some validation of if people predisposed to do that. And then I don't know, maybe running a test campaign or running a test or some kind of test advert to see if people would visit a squeeze page or something, or a maybe just a test advert with a survey. 10 topics that we're considering, or 5 topics we're considering doing for retail on online course.
Yeah.
Take a quick survey.
That's good.
That would be where I would start first.
Yeah. So I'm not giving you all the answers, but from one perspective is understanding that people are interested in doing an online course. That's one thing. And then of course, as soon as they say, let's say you do yes or no, which is the easiest way. As soon as they say yes, then you need to tell them, what about this one? What about this topic? So basically taking the offer understanding of what you have in your mind, writing that down and looking into how can you pitch that in a way that you get from the yes to, hey, would you be interested in doing this course? And you explain the course, or let's say you have it on a website easily explained, which is then the squeeze page or any other pages. Which then helps to either convert people for the early sign up, and that will then basically drag them into a waiting slot for joining the online course or whatever. So that's something we could easily set up.
And do we test price in the same way then?
Yeah, I would take that as the next level.
Right. Okay. Right.
So it's basically yes or no, understanding if they're into if they would at all do an online course on these topics. If the content resonates, you can work with different strategies. One perspective is what would that be worth it for you? Because then you get an answer and you don't give them a price. If I tell you it's $50, maybe they tell you without you saying the number, it's 500.
Yeah.
Then you have minus 450 per customer.
Yeah, got it.
So I always recommend to do it the other way around as often as you can. Hey, what would that be worth? You can even do like I did, for example. I put a couple of people for free through it, and they give me the answer afterwards.
Yeah, got it.
So that's something we can tweak over and over again. It's basically like in retail, you can always play with prices.
Yeah, sure.
So if we just have that from a high, I mean, we're on still 20,000 foot level, I understand. We might need to go even deeper if you want to set that up even live. We can figure that out, or we can discuss offline if you
sure.
If you want to do that as well publicly, or we do it and show it in the video, doesn't matter.
Okay.
But it's basically understand this perspectives will give you a rough understanding if you should go forward or not at all.
Yeah.
So it's now about how can you do that in the least amount of time and with the least amount of effort and money. Because that will give you a quick snapshot of like you said, posting on social media, saying, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Would this resonate with you, dear retailer? It's this content, which then linking them to somewhere where you basically can capture if they read it or not, and then you can say early sign up or something.
Yeah.
So it's something super easy where you don't have work with in the best case. And there are different ways you can basically, like we discussed before recording, you can even do this to a survey tool or with Google or whatever. There are different ways.
Survey Monkey, Google, LinkedIn surveys, whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that at least
So,
gives you a first feedback from the market. And as well,
mhm.
I mean, the tricky thing is always, if you do this on social without spending money, we are talking without spending money, you're just reaching 5 to 8% of the people who know you. So that's always the tricky thing. I mean, with your following, it might give you at least 20,000.
That's very kind. We'll see.
No, but it will give, let's say, from a GPS perspective, what we need to set before, what does success mean? So what is the number where you say, hey, that's working? So without considerations right now, what would be a number from a GPS perspective? How many people need to say yes from a test?
From a test,
for you to invest money into it?
More than, that's a really tough question.
I know.
More than, I think more than 100 people. More than 100.
So it's plus 100 people.
Yeah.
That's the first hurdle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can easily test that with like Facebook ads.
Yeah.
But it really depends if you want to spend money on that. It's more because, I mean, first you need to reach more than 100 people to get 100 people saying yes or no. But it's
so here's what I was thinking, right?
Yeah.
That in terms of, you know, like the retail Facebook retail groups that I'm part of, in terms of some of the pure retail groups I'm part of, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, you know, I could be, I've probably got access to
a couple of thousand for sure.
Well, I mean, I've got nearly 10,000 people that follow me on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking I've probably got access to probably 20,000 people in probably around 20,000.
Yeah. That's not bad.
So I mean, I think, I don't know, my connections on LinkedIn are 4,000 and something. So if you can combine both, you know, I mean, there's 13,000 of that is just from LinkedIn and Twitter. So I'm pretty sure that the other groups and everything else probably make up another, would easily make up another 17,000. So so there's potentially a pool of that, and that's without people referring it or it just popping up in their feed because, you know, we got hashtags right or whatever. So maybe so getting 100 people to say yes. I mean, getting 100 people to say to answer is one thing, I guess. But I think that's. I think the thing I'm saying is I think I've got the initial foundation to ask that question to see if 100 people came back and said yes. So
key point is then what you need to build up, or we need to build up, is you basically need to direct them somewhere where you can gather everything.
Yeah.
So if not, then you need to calculate on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, like everywhere.
Yeah.
That's all possible, but it's just more work. So it's
I mean, my first reaction would be to do something like to create a Survey Monkey link or something, and then post it and ask people to go to the survey and you know, take, you know, less than 5 minutes to answer a few questions for me. I've seen people do that successfully before. And we can do that. We can do that in a written format. We could do it as a video format. We could do it as some kind of Canva graphic musical format. I mean, it's the investment in time. I think it's worthwhile for sure. I mean, that's the logical next step.
Yeah. So that's key, finding out of how you can do that in the least amount of time and with the least effort. As well, monetary. I mean, SurveyMonkey is for free. That definitely works. Google has the same tools, works as well, which you can as well do a link and you basically have it straight away into a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
The tricky thing with that is always getting people to answer it.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, that's maybe something we need to prototype while doing it. Is if you say, okay, I will post something on all platforms to drag people into the SurveyMonkey, which means you can test as well different ways in saying it.
Asking, absolutely, yeah.
And then I mean, you need to do it definitely because Facebook is a different audience than LinkedIn for sure. So that means you basically prototyping already your headlines of the what it's called, the online course going forward, how it could be called or whatever.
Yeah.
Because what we said is, hey, would you be interested in doing an online course for pop-up retailers? Maybe not the right question to ask.
No, absolutely.
So it's more about finding out what is the right caption that captures people into an online course, and then getting them into the survey where you just ask them about, hey, can you give me 2 minutes of your time if you would be interested or not in this? Yeah. And if yes, what is it? I mean, if yes, then they join the SurveyMonkey. If not, they will not.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. I think the other thing as well then is defining the sorts of people that you do want to answer the question as well.
Exactly.
Because, so maybe it's actually a far more personal ask in terms of I'm always looking to improve my business and add some more value. If you're in retail and you've ever thought of pop-up retailing, I'd really like you to help me out and go to SurveyMonkey and take 2 minutes of your time to help me improve my business. Click here.
Exactly. So that's basically where if we move back to your dream customer, that's basically speaking to these people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you need to phrase it around the topics they desire, they need, they dream for. Yeah. Then you will capture them. So that's this is basically what you need to build in.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, do you want to go deeper in a separate session where we dive into details doing that, or do you want to do that on your own?
Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna dive into this on my own this week.
Yeah.
Right, because I wanted, as we said before we came live, we want to kind of push this on for people. So I'm gonna it's because I'm old and I need a lot of winding up. So I'm gonna dive into this week anyway, and then I'll share some stuff with you and see if it resonates with you around that, and then maybe when we do our next recording, we might have some early results, or we can talk about what we did and just show it rather than actually do the deep dive for people, just for efficiency more than anything. But
and I can definitely share more templates, because this is the highest level I work with. I've way more details behind that, even on an Excel level, where we could, I mean, off the recording, go more into details, and which you can basically just use copy paste.
Yeah,
that's no problem.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we're done for today.
Yes.
I hope you guys found that interesting. I have to say, I found today more challenging.
No, because
than I had,
and I can
done
tell
recently.
you why. Because when you come from corporations, you stop doing that. You just produce. You produce the online course. You don't test before.
Yeah.
I can tell you, coming from corporate, that's not going to be tested. That's like, hey, that's an amazing idea. Do you have the budget? Go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you figure out that, hey, there's no one who is at
It's
all
not-
interested
no
in
one's
an
clicking
online
it.
course. Like, why is nobody even clicking on it? Or it's like, why is there no? That's just basics. And that's why it's often so hard. And the tricky, of course, I mean, we're still talking at super high levels. It would be way easier to understand when you go really into, okay, let's put numbers down. Let's prototype and really plan the prototype and all the details, which I'm happy to do. But then it's really, you need to go into, okay, what are the different tools I have, how to do that, like really working it out, because that's when you learn. That's when you learn. And then it's basically what I always do. I do this on an Excel level. So I have Excel rows in what is the goal of the prototype, how I'm going to prototype, how do I reach out, who do I want to reach, and what needs to be the result. Like we said, like you said, 100 people. And then if I'm not reaching the 100, okay, was it wrong in the messaging? So you go backwards. Was it wrong in how I did set up the prototype? Or is it really completely not interested for anyone? But you figure that out before, and if you haven't solved level 1, you don't go to level 2 or 3.
Exactly.
Because you don't produce anything before you haven't validated that it is resonating. Because then you just spend time and money for something that nobody will buy.
Nobody's going to buy anyway.
It's happening every day, and happened to me as well.
Right.
That's just how it is.
Absolutely cool. So well, look, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed today's session. Jens, thank you for pushing the boundaries with me yet again. For that, appreciate it. So we're gonna dive in with some of this additional work, and then on our next session, you'll see where we've got up to. As I say, maybe we'll have some results, but stay tuned. Again, we welcome your feedback. We've had a couple of offers of help from people from previous episodes. They haven't gone unnoticed. Thank you for that. Hope you're enjoying this, and we'll see you all again soon, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.